This episode of Gamerheads is brought to you by Magic Mind, the healthy energy drink that will help you take your creativity to a new level.
Hi, I'm Celia Schilling from Yacht Club Games.
Hey, this is James from Mega Cat Studios.
Hey, this is Matt, aka Stormageddon from Reignite, Screen Snark, and the Fun and Games podcast.
This is Stephanie from the Boss Rush podcast and the Boss Rush Network.
Hey, this is Mark and Keon from Bonte Avond.
Hey, this is Sebastian with the ProNerdReport.com and the Single Player Experience podcast.
Hi, this is Chris.
Mike.
And Garrett from Daylight Basement Studio.
Hey, this is Baron J67 from Level 1 Gaming.
Hey, this is Todd Mitchell from Code Right Play.
Salutations. This is Mike Carroll from Stroll Art.
Hey, this is Jeff Moonen from Fun and Games Podcast.
Hey, this is Patrick from the Backlog Odyssey.
Hey, this is Rune from Runic Codes.
Hi, this is Andrew from Spalato Bros.
Hi everyone, Jill Grodt here from the Indie Informer.
Hey, this is Brimstone, and you're listening to Roger Reichart on the Gamerheads Podcast.
And welcome to another episode of the Gamerheads Podcast. My name is Roger. Along with me are my good friends and co-host. I have the CEO and president of Gamerheads. We have Phil.
We're podcasting.
We are podcasting. Mike is still in jail. Poor Mike.
Or back in jail.
Or back in
it's
jail.
It's tough to say.
Yeah.
Something about a parole violation or hearing or something like that.
Yeah. He was trying to get
sending me courier pigeons, and I don't know how to respond to him because I hand the pigeon a note. I'm like, oh, give this back to Mike, and the pigeon just sits there and looks at me. Maybe I'm supposed to give it a treat first. I'm not sure how these pigeons work.
I think you're supposed to send an owl.
Damn it.
Yeah.
Wrong bird.
Yeah, wrong bird. But we do have a returning... I don't even want to call you a guest anymore because you're like the fourth seat on the podcast.
Yeah.
She's an intern.
She's
sort of like a shadow that creeps in every
that's right. That's right. Just kind of like, how did she get here? We have Jill Grodt from the Indie Informer.
Hello, everyone.
You may have noticed we don't have music anymore.
I did notice that.
Yeah.
I'm a little sad.
Yeah.
But I was playing it in my own head.
Oh, that's good.
Do it every week.
We don't have the marketing budget to do that anymore.
We keep bailing Mike out of jail. You know?
That's right. That's right.
It. If Mike wasn't in jail, we'd have licensed music and everything.
We would.
No,
we'd have fireworks if it wasn't for Mike in jail. But
Mike's damn life of crime.
Yeah. Every time we make like strides, right? Like we earn like $1 here or there on the podcast, Mike ends up in jail, and I don't know what to do about that. So we end up losing more money than we make on the podcast. But Jill, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me on for the 287th time.
This year.
Yes. In the past 4 minutes.
That's true. That's true. I just want to do a quick intro and then we'll talk to you, Jill. But thank you to our listeners and to our patrons, who is Jill happens to be one of our patrons on Patreon.
You're welcome.
There's a weird circle happening here. I don't understand what's happening.
That's actually how she ends up on the show.
I need my vice president back.
She pays her way to get onto the show. Thank you, Jill.
It's totally valid. It works.
There you go.
Y'all want to get on the show? Pay $5.
That's right. That's right. Yeah, that's right. Thank you, Matt, and thank you, Sarah, as well, for supporting the show. And you can join as well for as low as $3 if you'd like.
What?
Yeah, the $5 gets you on the show, but $3 will get your mention on the show.
This is even more corrupt than my entire presidency has been so far, Roger. I don't even know what the hell is going on under me anymore. This is wow.
I don't either.
I'm glad that I could come on and just corrupt everything immediately.
But yes, join the Gamerheads Nation by signing up at our Patreon at patreon.com/Gamerheads Podcast. So Jill, hi.
Hi.
Congratulations, by the way.
For what?
For your anniversary, 10 years.
Oh yes.
So it's funny.
10 years married.
It was funny because you said I'm back from Ireland, and I said, oh, that's crazy. You were in Ireland, and then I listened to the podcast, and everything you told me in chat was like in the podcast, and then I was like, oh, I'm so embarrassed because now she knows I didn't listen to that episode yet, and she's like, because you also flew.
I literally I feel weird whenever. I'm glad you didn't, because like then I could tell you.
Oh, that's
and
true.
I wouldn't be like, oh, I'm retelling a story.
That's true.
So
that's true because you said I flew a hawk, and I said, what does that mean? Like that sounds
like a falconer.
Yes.
Okay,
you're the first person to make that assumption.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, everyone else that I have told has considered is that some kind of plane? Is that some kind of helicopter? Is that some sort of technology?
I didn't think you were flying a military Black Hawk. I feel as though you're a very skilled individual, but I think that might be a little bit above your pay grade. And
you never know. You don't know what I could get into, Phil.
Yeah.
You have no idea.
It's also Ireland. Maybe they let anybody fly, Black Hawk choppers.
When you get out of the Dublin airport, they just give you a helicopter.
You go to get your rental chopper.
Did you get the car or the chopper?
You can't fly, you can't drive. They're on the wrong side of the road. So they want you to be safe. Helicopter.
They have you take to the skies. It makes perfect sense. It's way more safe up there.
No, but I did go to Ireland for my 10th anniversary. And we did fly hawks, which was a really cool experience. We were walking through the forest, and we would go fly, and they would come back to us and grab it on the glove, and it was a really, really cool experience.
That sounds really
Did they bring
cool.
gifts?
Yeah, did they? I was going to ask that too.
I would have to feed them pieces of dead rodent when they came back as like a good you came situation. So I tried not to look too closely at what I was rewarding them with, but yeah.
So you're saying feeding a hawk is a lot like being on this podcast. You just gotta give it a little something, and then it'll show up again.
To bring like mouse feet or something.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah, got it. All right, I'll keep that in mind.
Do the streets still have no names in Ireland? Because when I was there, I understood the lyrics.
I just almost left this podcast.
I understood the lyrics because no, seriously, the streets have no names. The only way you know how to get around is being like, okay, I need to get to this city, and this city is on the way to that city. I don't know what the road name is, but I know how to get there.
Thankfully, I didn't have to go intercity. I took the train.
Oh, okay.
So I was just like, there's really only one way this is going. I hope I'm on the right one.
You should try being a mailman there.
I would absolutely love that experience.
The red house with 3 bricks on the top side is the one that you're dropping this letter off at.
I kind of think that's actually how it might be. I'm not, at least it was like that when I was there 20 years ago. So I don't know. Maybe things have changed.
All the streets got named while you were gone.
They're all named Reichert Avenue.
That's true. That's true.
Yeah, Dan Reichert.
Not Dan, Roger.
Oh, okay. Reicherts around the world.
Reicherts, yeah. No, there is a Reichert Road in my hometown. So I'll just have you know that.
Okay, well now I need to show up and boycott.
I'll join you in that protest.
But you had a good time in Ireland.
Yeah, absolutely fantastic.
That's good. Well, congratulations.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. Icebreaker for this week. Since Jill, since you are the expert in indies, I
that's
thought
what they tell me. Yeah.
Well, I mean, you are the indie informer. Like,
yep, that's correct. Yeah,
that is correct. So I thought the icebreaker could be this question, and if it's too much of a deep thinker for us, we can bypass it. But I think that Jill will probably have a good answer. I don't know if Phil and I will have a good answer, but
my answer is braid.
No, that is not your answer. I said the question is what makes an indie game, and your answer is braid?
Braid is an indie game.
Well, I know it's an indie game, but is that what makes it an indie game? An indie game
it's
is braid?
Not the worst answer I've ever heard to that question.
So wait. What is the worst answer you've ever heard to that question?
Was the question in the chat already?
Yes.
Son of a bitch.
Yeah. I said that earlier. I sent it actually right after I sent it to Jill. I sent it to you saying, here's the list of the things we're going to be talking about today.
Remember that time I told you that I don't read?
No, yeah, that's right.
Yeah, the worst answer to that question I've ever heard is really any sort of variation of like, oh, but it's good, and therefore it can't be indie.
Oh,
damn. There are people out there who believe that indie is a kind of byword for like
shuffleware.
Yeah, essentially, just like a bad, lesser, inferior experience. There were literally people like there are people who have not like there are people who believe that outright and who believe that and will say that. There are people who haven't like confronted their biases and sort of believe that and don't think too much about it. I've had a conversation with several people where like even people whom I like who are in this industry where I sort of have to explain indie is not like you can't do AAA, so let's just do indie. Like it's not like if you were a good indie, you're suddenly a AAA. Like that's not how that works. Like you do choose to be an indie game and an indie developer for very specific reasons to do very specific things.
I'm sorry, that
and
was
I
really
believe,
funny.
Yeah, I know. It's like it is a difficult thing to come across when you find those beliefs and you have to confront them. You have to be like as nice as possible because it's like I don't know what this person's relationship with games has been and where they're coming from. So I want to like bring everybody into the indie fold as much as possible, and you don't want to be judgmental about that kind of thing. But
Sure.
there are definitely some people who are just out there to be like trolls, and that's one thing. But as far as what an indie game actually is, I believe, Roger, that this question perhaps stems from kind of the Indie Council had a very large debate on this subject.
They did.
Because of the Triple I Initiative Showcase happened on the 10th. Lovely showcase. Fantastic. It ended with the Rogue Prince of Persia, which looks fantastic. It's being developed by Evil Empire, which no one argues is not. They are an indie developer. But it is being published by, who was it? It was
Ubisoft.
I would imagine.
Yeah, so they're being published by Ubisoft. So the question arose of whether or not this game is an indie. So, and which of course broke into a bigger question of what is actually an indie. So for me, I think everybody sort of agrees on some basic criteria. There is some criteria that involves how one gets money, how one funds the experience, what team is involved, and sort of the size of that team, how much creative freedom someone has or not. These are usually parts of this conversation. And I think most people agree that those all should be in the conversation, but I think most people also don't have any sort of like one person to the next person will be like, okay, an indie team has to be less than 50 people or less than 10 people or less than 5 people. Some people believe that the money is the big issue, where if you crowdfund your game, then you're good. If you're going and selling cookies to get your game funded, like that's another thing.
Game Scout cookies. I love Game Scout cookies.
Can we start that? Let's go and
how
make
many
sure
Game
no one else
Scout
gets
cookies
that
do I
name.
have to sell to make Arkham Asylum better, or Suicide Squad? I mean,
I don't know if there are enough cookies in the world. I'm
There's
afraid,
not.
Phil.
Yeah, sorry, Phil.
Damn it.
Yeah. So for me personally, I am usually where people disagree with me is in the money situation, because I am very happy for an indie team to make it a game that is their vision, and then go out and find a publisher to fund that vision. I believe that indie publishers are a thing, and they still get to be considered indie. I believe that when a big company like EA has a big indie initiative where they go out and they fund independent titles, so like Unraveled is a big one in this particular category. So I believe that's still considered an indie. But where I have a problem is when Ubisoft is straight up, this is their game. I don't know anything about Ubisoft officially, but I can only assume they have not given creative freedom to Evil Empire to do whatever you want with this property. So there is some issue of creative freedom. There is some issue of whether or not this game is really independent of a major studio or a major publisher. So I think I ended this, and so this is what I like to say as a short and sweet. I have stolen the definition from Aggro Crab's lead developer. If your game is an indie game, you know it's an indie game because if you wake up tomorrow and you want to put sex in it, you can. So that's how you can tell. You wake up tomorrow, you put sex in your game, no one can stop you. That's an indie game.
No, that makes sense. I mean, so this is actually we're getting this topic a little bit here when we talk about the Indie World Showcase, but that's one thing that I messaged you, Jill, and we were talking about the Yars Rising, and I said, how is this an indie game? Because again, Atari's publishing it, and it's an Atari property, right?
Yep.
And same thing with the Prince of Persia game. Like, listen, they own that IP. I get it. They want involvement in it. Totally get it. But then it's hard to say that that's an indie game because of the fact that it's owned by them and they have creative influence over how things are done, right? Versus a game that I think, like when I think indie games, I think of games that are new, inventive, something different, like a new idea. Like even if it's a sequel, it's still like indie, right? Like it's still like Hades and Hades 2.
Yeah.
That's still an indie game. I think of like their own IPs that they're not owned by somebody else telling them how they need to do their business, right? It's interesting though, because then I wonder about like Crypt of the Necromancer and the indie or the Nintendo the Zelda one. What was that called? Was it Dance of the I don't remember what it's called.
Cadence of Hyrule?
Cadence of Hyrule. Yeah, you're right.
That it?
Yeah. I don't know how much Nintendo had influence on that. I don't know if they're like, hey, here you go, have fun. Or if they're like, no. You have to like abide.
I don't think Nintendo at any point in its life ever said, hey, take this and go have fun.
Not a chance in hell.
I didn't think so.
That's another one of those games that falls for me in the not indie category because they didn't have that creative license. So yeah, it's funny because I love debating this topic, and you can go back and forth and you have shades of gray and it's not a straight line. You do kind of, I don't know about this one, but this one I do. And and that's fine. I like it in the intellectual space and I have a lot of fun with it. And I'm never like, everyone has to have this is the definition of indie and everyone has to deal with it because like, as I alluded to earlier, like the Indie Council, who we all love indie games and we're all steeped in the industry of indie games. We all had different definitions. So you can't go out there and say, hey, everyone has to have the same definitions. That's fine. The problem that I have with this is very practical in the fact that my channel, the Indie Informer, deals only in indie games. So I have to make these very practical, very hardline decisions as to like, are we covering this game because it's not or is an indie?
Yeah.
So like when these things pop up, when like the III show happened and then the big reveal, it's the Rogue Prince of Persia. I'm like, I love it. I love this look. I don't think I can cover it because it's not, to my mind, an indie.
Yeah. No, and that's what I love about your site. And what is the site? Can you plug your website?
Yeah, anybody who wants to check out my site and find a lot of things I'll probably talk about on this show can go to theindieinformer.com and see what's going on in the indie world.
Yeah. But I love how, and you should listen to the Indie Council if you haven't listened to that, listeners. I love how you had that debate, and I love how it was an interesting debate, and I don't want to say heated, but it was a fun.
No, it was heated.
Okay,
no,
it was heated. You're right.
There was real passion in there back and forth.
But it was fun. It was fun to listen to.
It is fun because everybody on there, I've said this before, and we've all sort of had this moment. It is hard to be in a room where you mention a game that's in the very solidly in the indie space, and everyone around you has played it and knows what it is and knows what you're putting down. And it's like, that's the love that everyone on that show has for indies. But on top of that, we all love each other. Like, it's a real friendship. We are all really friends. We all respect each other. So you can get into these conversations and dig in a little bit because, we're friends. Once you start getting to be friends with people, you do start digging at them a little bit and like, let's go. You want to go? Let's go.
Unless they're the president of your podcast, then you don't. Then you don't.
Not me. I never take shots at my friends.
Yeah.
Nothing but love and warmth comes out of me always.
But I thought there was one interesting point, and maybe I should just have people listen to your podcast and not bring this up, but I'm going to bring this up here anyway. I thought there was, and I don't remember who made this point, but the point was that indie games are cool right now. And is it that these big money are trying to sneak their way into indie games and try to like somehow get that, that cool, like, oh, look at, we're cool too. Like we support indie games as well. Give us your money. Right. I kind of feel that way. And it kind of feels icky.
Yeah, a little bit. It is.
Oh no.
What?
Oh,
what?
You paused. I'm good. I'm good. My internet paused. I'm good now. I'm good.
Okay, everyone's fine.
I thought bad stuff happened. I was like, oh no, what? I didn't see anything happen.
It's the big companies that are like, they're getting on to us.
Yeah, I think there's something inherently icky about a big publisher trying to pretend like, hey, we're just the little guy, and like putting a name out there that people know and feel, and getting that sort of grassroots attention, especially since again, my website, the Indie Informer, is about covering indies, and is about covering indies not just because I love indie games, but because that is a genre of game that is not as covered, despite the fact that it is really cool. Like you're saying, indie games are having a surgence, and it's continuing to surge, and everyone's sort of looking into it. But like, it's sort of few and far between the indie games that actually break into that high level, who are actually getting attention from mainstream media and all that. And there's a lot of reasons for that, and I talk about that on the show a lot. No shots at all about anyone in larger media situations. They have to do what they have to do. But there are people out there who are like, I made this cool thing and no one knows what it is. No one's seeing it. I don't know what to do. Like, I run into those people all the time, and those are the people I like to highlight, as well as like Hades too. I'm super excited for it. I'm banging at the doors like, please let me in. I want to play this test play so bad. But yeah, there should be space for the kind of intended category of people who are making their vision and being passionate about it, and it's really theirs, instead of this sort of like mask over big business, like, look, you can like us sort of thing.
Yeah Agreed.
I feel as though some of that, if I can just chime in for 2 seconds and forget my train of thought as I'm about to start speaking, is like, a lot of it just has to do with groundswell. Like, once you have something, we're just going to use the most recent indie darling, in my opinion, Balatro or Balatro, however you want to pronounce it. Like, once word of mouth started spreading on that, like, it got around real quick. So I mean, it's about how much other people outside hype it, because obviously an indie studio does not have the company, the money, the finances, which is also money, to like just spread all of their love all over television, all over magazine ads and stuff like that, where all of your bigger studios do. So I mean, it's when somebody throws something out there that's very unique, very different, and very creative, everybody's going to hear about it. Where if you put out a really, really solid indie game that doesn't necessarily have that innovation behind it, you're not necessarily going to get the hype behind it as much as like gamers like us would get behind it. Where I think like a Balatro, again, is going to appeal to people that are not hardcore gamers that just want to sit down and play a game of cards.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Not to state the obvious, but I just did.
Play Balatro?
No.
Oh, you stayed at the office?
Obvious.
Obviously you did. Okay.
Obviously I stated the obvious, Roger.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. Well, that was a fun topic.
We broke the ice.
We broke
It's
the
broken.
ice. It is now. We move on. We can move on.
We're in a tropical oasis now.
We made it.
Got drinks with little umbrellas.
Yeah,
in them. We're good.
I wasn't quite sure we're gonna make it to the other side, but we did.
I'm looking for an umbrella currently. I thought I had one around here.
Yeah.
I don't.
I
have a drink, but no
got
umbrella.
A little guy.
I have a drink too, but yeah, it's not the same kind of drink that you're drinking.
Tropical drink.
Indie World Showcase happened.
It did
the other day, and when this airs, it's gonna be a couple days, but that's okay. So, Jill, wanted to get your thought because Phil, you didn't watch it. I'm assuming, right? You
It was real early in the morning.
It was early.
Like no one's gonna blame you on that one.
Yeah, that's the reason he didn't watch it. That's the reason he didn't watch it.
No, that's not true. Like I will watch a lot of showcases as long as that one company isn't attached to it or that other company isn't attached to it. But it's also like I've taken a really big step back off of social media where I'm not really paying attention to much of anything anymore.
You know what you could do, Phil? You could go to theindianformer.com.
That's right.
And check out my
discussed
coverage
the fact
of it.
that I can't read. We covered this twice in this show
It's
already.
got a lot of pictures on it.
That's
It's
true.
Pictures.
It does have a lot of pictures, and I think that if you like copy it and put it into like a Word doc, you could have the Word doc read it back to you. Yeah,
it'd be like a bedtime story.
That's
I'm
right.
all in.
That's
I
right.
have plans
That's
for the
right.
night now. See you guys later.
That's right. Jill, what were some of your highlights from that Indie World Showcase?
Indie World Showcase. Let me bring up. I actually have my coverage up here so I can remember all the things I was excited about. High level thoughts about this show. It's always a cozy and sort of cheesy experience, but that's sort of what I love about it.
Yeah.
I thought it was interesting that we didn't get a lot of. I don't know if we really, except for the last thing, we didn't get any sort of new games. They were all sort of games we've known about, games I'm keeping an eye on, which is fun, that's cool. But for me, the biggest part of a showcase is almost always like, oh, here's the thing I didn't know about. And they did that at the end, which is cool. But yeah, big for me, Little Kitty Big City.
Yeah.
I actually watched that trailer.
It's good, right? It's adorable.
It looks pretty dope.
It's so cute. It is a mischievous little cat doing mischievous things out in the city. It's May 9th, which to anyone who's in the indie space heard that date and was like, no. Because May 9th is piling on with the games. All kinds of indie games are hitting, and they're all like top of the year anticipated type games. So everybody who covers indie games around May is going to be like, no one talk to me. I've got so many things to play. Another really big highlight for me. I didn't know this was coming, but I sort of had an idea that it might be. Lorelai and the Laser Eyes.
Yeah. What is that game?
Oh my gosh, it's so good, Roger.
Yeah,
it's so good.
I listened to your podcast and I was like, okay, you guys are really high on this game.
Yeah.
I don't know what this game's about.
Yeah. So the problem with Lorelai and the Laser Eyes, first of all, it's got a great title.
It does.
But it doesn't tell you much about what that game is.
It tells me everything I need to know. There's Laser Eyes.
Laser Eyes. And anytime it's shown up in the past, it is sort of just like, cut, weird thing, lasers, mazes, what's happening? Like, that's a really cool hype situation. Like, you look at that and you're like, oh,
bought it because of that.
There you go.
I haven't even seen it.
But what it doesn't do is it does not tell you what you are getting into when you jump into that experience.
Yeah.
So if you jump into the indianformer.com, that morning, it was so weird for anybody who wants like background on how game journalism works. About an hour after the showcase, I got the okay to post a preview, which I had been working on, but had no idea when it was going to go up.
Okay.
Because it was like Nintendo's real hush hush about all of its stuff.
Yeah.
So I was sort of like waiting in the wings, like, when's this gonna happen? I've played some of this, I've written some things, but I have no idea when I should be prepared for it. So it was very much like, an hour later. Okay, go. I'm like, oh no. Okay, it's got to go up. But essentially, and it's coming out May 16th. So that was a cool bit of news from the showcase. The game itself is the coolest combination of like survival horror, but without the horror. It's got a lot of dread. It's got a lot of like unsettlingness. As far like I haven't played all the way through. I've just done a preview. But instead of the horror, they substitute puzzles. Like you know how like most survival horrors have some sort of like, oh, and then there's this thing, and if I can unlock it, I can get into another. Like that's they really dive into that.
Okay.
So it's a puzzle game first and foremost.
Okay.
But it takes on the framework of essentially a Resident Evil. Like it's so weird. Like it's from everything. Like it gets you into your brain. Like I didn't even really think about it until you got to the part where you leave your car, you go up to like an old dilapidated, abandoned, but very grand hotel that the gates are locked. And when you walk up, you start hearing a dog barking. And my first reaction is, oh, Resident Evil dogs. You know how this is going to go.
Yeah.
And then you walk up to the gate and there's this cute little chocolate lab with a letter for you. And he's so happy to see you and he's the best boy ever. And you pet him and he gives you a letter. And then that's the clue to your next thing that gets you into the gate. And when you get into the gate, you get to pet him. So like that's really all that interaction is.
Okay.
But they knew how the game is a conversation with those old school genres, playing around with puzzles, playing around with it's real meta narrative sort of stuff. So they knew how you were going to feel because they have already built into like they've taken control of your psyche by planting things like how the control system works, how the inventory system works, how you can't control the camera. So you're getting angles that look at weirdly and you can't see around corners and that kind of thing. They've intentionally done this to put you in a space so that they can subvert that expectation. And then you're just petting a puppy, you know? Like, it's like, oh, did you think this dog was going to attack you? Just pet him. It's so good. It's so good. I love when a game does this. They're playing with me as the player. There are things happening in this game where I came up to a locked room and in the room I could hear people, or at least a person maybe on the phone, arguing. And from my perspective, hearing this argument, it sounded like the developer talking to a publisher, literally the developers of Lorelai and the Laser Eyes. Like, this must have been a conversation they had with someone. They were arguing about, like, no, we can't make it just called Laser Eyes or whatever. Like, and then there's no context. You can't see it because you're listening into a door.
Yeah.
And you're like, did I just hear what I think I heard? Like, what's going on in this game? So like there's something on a higher level. I found a manual, which anyone who knows my love of Tunic knows. I love this particular mechanic in a game where it is literally an in-game manual for how to play the game. So there's some idea that the game knows it's a game and it's playing with you and it's playing with the puzzles and it's playing with genres and it's talking about what games are, and I'm like, oh, this is really cool. I already know at least one person who did the preview with me who I was talking to was like, this is the game of 2024.
Really?
And I'm like, I'm not going to contradict you on that. Like, I'm not far enough to know if that's where I stand, but this is going to be in the top conversations. This will be, you can put it down right now, record me. This game is going to show up.
It's already being done
in any game, all of the game of the year, like awards. It's going to be there. It's going to be nominated. That's what I'll say.
I just read your article on it on the Indie Informer, and it does sound very, very intriguing, and it is super stylized as well, which is, I can really, really dig that. It looks very cool.
It is very cool.
It's just too bad it's not on a system I can play.
Yeah.
That's a shame.
Yeah. Wait,
it's on PC.
Yeah, that's what he means.
PC thing.
That's what he
Yeah,
means.
I can't.
He doesn't have a good enough PC
Well,
to play games.
and it showed up for the Nintendo, so you can go.
Yeah.
You can get it on your Switch.
Yeah,
That's
Phil.
What my actual point was is that it's on the Nintendo, and I'm not. I had to get at least one shot in on Nintendo.
That's right.
Hold on. Let me check this out. Let me see what I have here with.
You have it listed as Switch and PC.
Oh, then that's probably what it is.
Is this a Roger game? Like, am I gonna be scared? Am I gonna?
I don't think you're gonna be scared.
Okay.
I think they use those elements, but as far as I can tell, there hasn't been. Literally, there's nothing scary about it.
Okay.
I think they're using it to kind of keep you like at a certain anticipation level, but I've not yet. There's no like zombies. There's no
jump scares. No jump scares.
Jump scares. Okay. Yeah, nothing like that. Okay. It's not a scary game as far as I can tell.
It just looks like it.
It just looks like it. It makes you think that it's going to be.
Mm-hmm.
So
the Dredge is not a scary game if you go out fishing during the day.
You know, you're set. It's just a normal fishing game. Look at this.
It's just a fishing game. No, okay, all right. Well, maybe I'll check that game out. If you, Jill, if you were saying this is going to be a good game, then I will have to go check it out. Like that.
Go check it out.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
It might hit Roger if you liked. I Doesn't Exist.
Yeah.
It might hit more in that area.
Okay. And I will say this: I did play Inscription.
There you go. That's a scary game.
And that was a scary game. That game is actually really scary. That's about as scary as I'm gonna get. And I will say that actually freaked me out too. Like, but actually, I mean, the cutscene scared me more than the actual
gameplay.
Yeah. Anything else from the indie showcase that you were like, oh man, this is something you should check out?
I think that the sizzle reel did some games dirty. They did just rapid fire, like banger after banger of game. So the one I do really want to call out is Duck Detective: The Secret Salami.
Yeah.
And it sounds like I'm making stuff up, but that game is really good. It's really funny. It's really sassy. And it's just so absurd that it's like this duck who's going through a divorce and like his life is falling apart and he's a detective, but he's like a very cute hand-drawn creature.
Yeah.
If that's your jam, if that's the kind of absurdity you like, you should check out Duck Detective: The Secret Salami, and it's coming out May 23rd.
Okay. You know what's fun? I'm surprised it's coming out that soon because I must have got back from West. I was not feeling the greatest, and they were holding voice actor auditions for some of the side characters. And I was going to audition, but my throat was all like, really
that could have made for a really interesting.
That's true.
Yeah, you could have definitely been a character.
Yeah, but the problem is, was if they're like, yeah, we love it, we love that, whatever that voice is, and then my voice heals, and then I can't do it again.
You say, I got 24 hours to record. Let's go.
So I was surprised to see that that's coming out in May because, yeah, that was a quick turnaround on the voice. I mean, they were asking for voice actors. Now there were side characters; they weren't the main characters, but still, I was like, "Wow, that's really fast!" Like,
so you could have been Snot-Nosed Kid.
Yeah, there you go.
That's true. That wasn't one of the roles, but sure. No, that looks
I feel
cool.
like I should also probably shout out the fact that Heist 2 was announced.
Yeah,
and not only announced, it got a release date at its announcement, which is a very unusual thing to happen. I have a mixed bag of feelings when it comes to SteamWorld games. But we'll see how this one goes. I know there were a lot of people who were super jazzed for this.
Have you played the first one?
No, I have not.
Okay. Have you, Phil? Have you played a SteamWorld Heist?
No, I've never played a SteamWorld.
You never played a SteamWorld game?
In his life.
Ever?
Ever.
Oh, wow. I liked Heist. I think it was 3DS. I don't think it came to anything else, right? Or it might be on a Switch now, but it was originally came out on the 3DS. And it was really good. I liked it a lot. I mean, it was cool because you could like shoot the hats off of like your enemies, which was kind of fun. And I think then you could pick up the hats and wear them, which was kind of fun. I don't think they did anything for you though, but it was a neat game. And yeah, I think it's out on the Switch now because I was going to double dip and buy it. But I'm excited for this one. I liked the Little Kitty Big City game. That looked really cool. I'll just mention this because again we kind of talked about this, but that Yars Rising was weird to me because again that doesn't feel like an indie game. That feels like Way Forward is making the game. They're indie for sure, but Atari's publishing it and it's a Atari IP. It seems really weird, and it's weird because it's like a Metroidvania. Like it's so different than the original, which is cool. I'm okay with that. I think that's cool, but it's just so different. So those were the ones that kind of stood out for me on that showcase. Let's move on to our next topic then. Keep turning on this fan. I don't know why my elbow keeps bumping it, but anyway, our next topic is the top 3 indie games that have released this year.
Okay.
Why did I say year that way? This year. And then the 3 games that we should be looking forward to. So Jill, since you are a guest and you again are the expert, because you are the Indie Informer, where can they reach your work again?
You can go check that out at theindieinformer.com because I am currently looking at the release calendar on the website.
Oh, there we go. So
you can go and check that out.
There you go.
It's really funny because I'm going to name the 3 games that I have enjoyed as much this year. But when you ask about things to look forward to this year, and you want me to just limit it to 3 things, I'm like, I'll give you 3 things that are coming out in May. And that's going to be tough to narrow down, you know? So far, my top 3 are Balatro, which we've already talked about. Of course, it was fantastic. Turnip Boy Robs a Bank.
Oh.
Absolutely mayhem, and I loved it.
I spent a lot of time with that game.
So good. I think the only part I didn't love was the last thing where they made you do it over. I'm like, why wouldn't you at least checkpoint things? But, besides that, it was a lot of fun. And even that part I got past. So it was okay. And then I think I'm going to throw out for my third one, Snufkin. Yeah.
What is Snufkin? I don't know this game.
Snufkin, Melody of Moominvalley.
Okay.
Snufkin is, Roger, this is a you game that you haven't played. This is so upsetting. Snufkin appears to be a character from like when I was a kid and I went to the library a lot. Like you would get some of those old cartoony type kids things, but we're actually like really serious also.
Oh yeah. I know you're
like
talking about.
I'm sort of thinking in the vein of like a Where the Wild Things Are
Yeah.
But this was like a popular character in the Scandinavian area, and a still very beloved character. I didn't have any of this childhood past with it, so I went into it kind of blind, and it is literally just lovely. Roger, it is like, it's not afraid to talk about heavier subjects, but it is, you're walking through and you're just like encouraged to stop and enjoy the breeze in through the fields and the sparkle on the water, and you're helping Moominvalley. Moominvalley has been taken over by like rules. I mean, essentially, okay, I'll tell you guys this. Are you ready?
Yes.
I wanted to name my review for this game Fuck the Police.
Now you're starting to sound like me. You've been on the show way too much.
Wait, you're just the way you were describing this game. It's so cozy.
It's so
cute.
lovely and cozy. It would not have been a good
fuck the
subtitle.
police.
Fuck the police.
Everybody's dropping the F word but me so far.
That is true.
Sorry.
What the hell is going on here?
You roll up into Moominvalley and you discover that like some authority figure has taken hold and decided to put rules everywhere and to like take the natural beauty of everything and like make it into like a park and like mow everything down and try to make it orderly. And like you're not allowed to, like, it puts up signs of like no talking, no picking flowers, no like whatever. So a lot of the you wander in and you see these spaces and you just dismantle them. You go through and you do a kind of like stealth missions to get past the like the eye vision line of guards, and you're like grabbing signs out and like property destruction and trying to free animals that have been caged. So yeah, it is every single character you meet is like, I up until 5 minutes ago, I didn't know who you were, but now that I know you, if anything happens to you, I'm murdering everyone.
Wow.
Like, you are so fantastic. You are so cute, and I love you. Like, that's... And then, yeah, you're picking flowers, and you're having a great time. You go, you help through, like, playing musical instruments. So, like, different musical instruments can help you get through. It's sort of Zelda-y in that way. You get to a certain level and you get through like I forget now exactly what all of the things are because it came out some time ago, but like, yeah, it is just a really well developed, very beautiful, very thoughtful and introspective, but also like really mischievous, which I enjoy. Is
it, and that's what you think? I mean, I'm okay
Roger,
with it.
play this game. Play this game.
I just think it's.
I'm saying
this is a Roger game,
this.
and then you're like, you can destroy things, you go against authority, and I'm like, I don't think Jill knows me. If you think that's
are you Roger? Are you looking at this game right now? Tell me this doesn't look like a you game.
Well, how do you spell this? How do you spell this?
Snufkin is actually spelled the way you might
snuff
think
like
Snufkin.
a film and kin like your relatives.
Okay, I found it. What? Okay, let's look. I'll take a look here.
Melody of Moominvalley.
Oh yeah, I can see where you're. Yeah, I can see the artwork you're talking about, like that old time, like 70s kind of art, right? Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, no, I'm gonna go play this game. I'll go play it. Okay.
I will expect your report.
What is this on? Just on PC? Is it just on PC right now, or is this? Yeah, it looks like no, it's on the Switch. It's on the Switch.
That makes sense.
Yeah,
sometimes
and Xbox and Xbox.
Is it? I think it might be a Game Pass game. Is it not?
Oh, is it?
I haven't seen it on Game Pass, but I could be wrong, and I pay pretty close attention to that.
Okay.
Double check.
All right, I'll check this game out because there's a lot of ways I can play this game. So I will play this game, and I'll report back to you, Jill.
Okay, it's going to be in your top 3.
Okay. All right.
Now that you're doing it. Okay.
All right.
Do you guys want to do your top 3s first, and then we go into what we're anticipating?
Sure.
Okay.
Phil, was that 3? Did you say 3?
I did 3. I did Balatro, Turnip Boy, and Snufkin.
Oh yeah, that's right. Phil, what are your top 3 indie games so far?
I am also on board with Balatro and Turnip Boy, as anybody who's listening to the show has heard me rave about all of them. And off the top of my head, I'm not even sure if I've played a third indie game this year. I know that I have, but I can't think of what. I can tell you that it's not Pal World. Now that I scroll through the list here, because that game was the drizzling shits. I downloaded Open Road, but I have not played it yet, and I'm kind of mad at myself when I saw that was out, and I remembered I had it downloaded.
I liked it. Real good.
Yeah?
Short. Very short.
Okay. What the Golf is out on PlayStation. I'm going to give What the Golf love again, just because it's What the Golf.
What the Golf is very good.
That's 3.
Roger.
That's your 3. Oh, that's your 3. Okay, I'm going through my list of games that I played. I'm like, oh no, I have to find my 3. Balatro, obviously, is up there because Balatro is very good.
Nice.
I still play that game. I go back to that every once. I'm like, so my daughter. This is why we had to get a late start into recording. My daughter has play practice and my son has baseball, so I don't get home until late. So I have to sit in a parking lot waiting for one of them. And I'm always like, I have a New Year's resolution to beat Octopath Traveler 2, and I'm always like, I could play that, and then I end up playing like Balatro several times, and then it's 2 hours later. I'm like, oh no, I should have been playing some Octopath. Like, this is a great opportunity.
It's one of those games that is so devious because you think you're just going to play a hand and it's going to be real quick, and then you can't stop playing.
Yeah, I know.
And even if you do play hand and think it's going to be real quick, suddenly you're on the 7th level or the 8th level, and it's been 45 minutes anyways, and you're just like, oh, it happens to me all the time because like I'll start playing while I'm cooking food at night. And next thing I know, like I'm pausing the game to go like get food and set the food down, and then I come back and finish my hand, and I look up and I'm like, how the fuck is my food cold? I just started playing this a couple of minutes ago, and I'm like, never mind, it's been 35 minutes.
I had the greatest experience with exactly that on stream. I was like, I've just got a couple of minutes left on the stream. I'll just start a thing of Balatro, and I'll fail really quickly.
Yeah.
I literally won that hand on stream, and no one can like take that away from me.
That's
I'm like,
awesome.
Haha.
That's awesome. I know, and it's always like, oh, I'll just play a quick hand. I'll probably get some crappy jokers, and then all of a sudden you get this really cool joker that's like, I'm like, oh man, nothing can stop me now. And then like you're like seventh ante, and then it falls apart, and you're like, how could this have happened? I had the best jokers ever. Or the worst is, I'm gonna flop out this one joker, switch out this one joker for a different joker, and then everything falls apart for me, and then I get really crabby. Then when that happens, like that makes me mad. Anyway, Balatro. I'm gonna throw this game in here. I know it came out last year, but I didn't play it last year. But it came out on the Switch this year, so I'm gonna count it. Let's Revolution.
Yes.
Oh,
absolutely.
That game is so good. That game
so good.
And their social media is fantastic. Because they like
the little king comes in and he's in character and he's like,
oh yes,
bow subjects, how dare you?
Yes,
so good.
My favorite was when so I wrote the review for that game, and then I also previewed it at PAX East as well. And I posted my review, and the king said Gamerheads will roll, and I just thought that was so
that's very
so
clever.
great.
Yeah.
I loved that game so much. That on the way back from Boston, my wife went with me, and I said, you have to play this game. And she played it. And she the whole flight back, that's all we played. The 2-hour flight back home, we played, and we beat at least one of them. We got to the New Game Plus on one of them. So,
this game, interesting trivia about this game. I saw this at GDC, I think last year or the year before. I can't remember. I think I might be the first person to have ever played it.
Whoa.
Ooh.
Yeah. Who was like not in the studio or whatever.
Yeah.
Because like it was really funny. I went in and I had a great time, but the basis of my preview for that year was one of the first things the developer asked me, looking me straight in the eye, and you could tell that the company who made it was movies and like shorts and that sort of thing until this game.
Yeah.
And you could tell honestly and genuinely, with absolutely no intent to be rude or anything, looked me in the eyes and asked me if I'd ever played Minesweeper. Like with serious concern. I'm like, this person has to be around people who do not play games at all. And here I am. I'm a video game journalist, and you asking me whether or not I've played one of the most iconic games of all time. And in the actual meeting, I was like, yes, I have actually, very polite. But when I went back and wrote the preview, I essentially did what I just did now. I'm like, this man straight up asked me. And he thought it was absolutely hilarious.
That's
afterwards.
funny. Question: did you like Minesweeper? Because I don't. I hate Minesweeper.
I'm not. It's a little stressful. It's one of those games where it's like there are a lot of games that I could be playing otherwise, but sometimes when I was in my youth and I didn't have access to a lot of things, Minesweeper was it.
Yeah, I think.
But this is
go ahead,
way more interesting.
Oh, for sure.
Let's Revolution is it's a take on Minesweeper, where your character is, for various reasons, trying to bring down the monarchy. And you have to get through each and every level by defeating all the enemies and finding the king. But if you get, like, the board starts, the playing board starts completely flipped over. So you have no idea where anything is. And if you run into an enemy, you get damaged, and sometimes enemies can like pop out of nowhere and attack you. So you have to inch your way around the board and use your various powers and abilities to sort of figure out where people are or attack before you can get attacked. And it's very strategic, but also just Just a lot of fun. Beautiful artwork as well.
Yeah. I asked them how long it took for them to develop that game, and they said 18 months, which I was like blown away. And they said the reason being because they said when you work with a studio like Buck Studio that that's what they focus on is animation. They said normally we would expect something back in like 3 to 5 months, right? Of like, hey, we need this asset. They're turning this stuff around in like 2 weeks. So like, here you go. And they're like, wait, what? And they said just because they're so used to that quick turnaround of animation, they said that helped with that process a lot.
Sure.
So yeah, Let's Revolution is so good. That game is so good. The last game, so there's a lot of probably honorable mentions. But the last game I'm gonna say is Death Trick Double Blind.
Trick Double Blind.
Yeah,
that's a new one for me.
Sounds like a skateboarding trick.
Yeah. It is a well, it's a detective type game. So you play as two detectives actually, solving this crime. It takes place in the 1950s at a circus, and the main magician is gone missing. And they call in a private investigator to come in and find out what's going on, because the police won't do anything because they're like, well, you guys are circus people and we don't really, we don't really care about circus people, and we're not going to spend a lot of time and effort into this. Right. So they hire this private investigator to investigate it. But then there's also another character who shows up and gets this letter from the magician who's missing, saying, hey, if something happens to me, you got to pretend to come here and find out what's happening, pretend to be me. And so they show up and say, hey, I'm going to dig into this and find out what's going on. And so you have to interview and investigate all the different circus performers and ask them a bunch of questions. And as the detective, they won't really answer a lot of your questions because you're an outsider. But as the magician, they're more willing to talk to you because you are, another circus performer. And it's really fascinating. And there's a major twist in the game. Obviously, I'm not going to say that because that would ruin the game for everybody.
Ruin it.
I'm not going to ruin it. It's really good, though. It is really good. And I got to interview the two ladies that made the game. They're from China, actually. And just to hear them talk about how much research they did that went into the game around the circus. And it was fun that one of the artist, I believe her name is Jenny. Yeah, Jenny. She actually was in Rhode Island studying at a university in Rhode Island, and was in the city where the last circus was being performed, the last traveling circus. And I asked about that too. I said, why did you choose the circus in America of all places, right? And they said, well, the American experience of the traveling circus is unique. Like that's where it started. And then, finally it did go to Europe and such, but it was a unique experience in America. And the fact that we could have something where you have to solve this crime in a certain amount of time before the circus picks up and moves to the next city, like that adds that the element of like, you got to do this quickly and get this solved quickly. It's really well written. It's really witty, and the characters are really like, you fall in love with each character. Even the person that did it, you do fall in love with that person too. It's a good game. And if you like that Ace Ventura. No, Ace Attorney. What was that Ace Attorney one? There's an Ace Attorney. Ace Ventura.
Objection.
Yeah. If you like those games, it's in the same line, same vein as those types of games. So, yeah, it's really, really good. So those are my top 3 that I played.
I love it.
All right, Jill, what are the 3 that you're most looking forward to?
Okay. You're putting an impossible task in front of me, Roger. So I'm going to pick my top 3 of May.
Okay.
But even that's tough.
Okay.
Yeah. So I'm looking at my calendar. Be prepared. Are you ready?
Yes.
I'm almost ready too. Here we go. Okay. Top 3 of May. Jesus. Roger, I hate you.
Wow. That's usually the kind of stuff I say. Jill, you're taking my role tonight.
Yeah. Okay. So I have to put this out there. I've been waiting for this game for years.
Silk Song. I'm just kidding. Just kidding.
I don't say the name of that game. We don't say the name of that game, Roger.
I know.
They did a social post saying that it was coming May 29th, and I'm terrified that like it's not shown up anywhere. I haven't seen any previews of it, so like I'm really scared that it's going to move, and this is what's going to jinx it. But 9 Souls.
Oh.
That's coming May 29th.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
What's 9 Souls?
It is, and it's 9 SOLS.
Yeah.
So like souls, like the
Like
sun,
suns.
rather than like
Not feet souls.
It is. Yeah. It's not a Souls like. It is a 2D action platformer, sort of in the Sekiro vein. Like it's got really, really frenetic, cool, good feeling, silky sort of action. It is a beautiful, beautiful hand-drawn kind of somewhat anime-ish look to it, but it's also sci-fi. And the preview that I got to play of it, you're in this sort of like Japanese village, and people are going through this kind of ritual of like they seem really happy. They're about to go to this great place and help their people and whatever. But you are a kind of character for reasons we don't really understand. You have been kind of cast out of the normal society of things. You have powers beyond a normal person, and you are closely bonded to someone who decides to take part in this ritual, and your character knows something. And normally they're fine being out and about, like you guys do whatever, but knowing apparently what they know about this ritual, they follow this person into the ritual and beyond, and you discover it's this whole world of like essentially they're like harvesting these people. It's like a kind of sci-fi like horrific situation. So you're like cutting through like robots and stuff to get to your friend, and there are these huge boss battles at the end, and it's just a really cool concept, really beautiful. I can't wait to see more of it. I really, really hope it really does come next month. This has been on my anticipated list for so long.
This doesn't sound like a Roger game though, but it sounds
might
cool.
not be a Roger
Yeah, I was gonna
game.
say it doesn't.
It
sound
is
like
a really cool game.
It sounds like a cool game, but not a Roger game. But that sounds cool.
I'm sorry, Roger. They can't all be Roger
I
games.
know. Well, I should have prefaced it. What are the top 3 games that would be Roger games that you're
Roger
looking
games.
for?
Oh God, look at all of these amazing games that are coming out. But I don't want to say one because then I'll like only have one left. I will go with Until Then. It's coming out May 23rd. And this is a sort of like if you played A Space for the Unbound last year.
Yeah, that's a good game.
It's got a lot of those vibes happening. There's something weird going on. It's a slice of life kind of kids in school age going through school, dealing with normal school things. But then like in the middle of it, everything just kind of glitches and goes back to normal. And you're like, what was that? The game? Was that my computer? Like what's happening? And you kind of forget that it happens. And as you go through, more and more kind of weird things begin to unravel and to happen. But it's still like about like your friends and the relationships you're building, and like it's got a very deep narrative, heartfelt core, and the pixel art is absolutely gorgeous. I cannot wait to see more of this. May 23rd. I did a preview of it up on the site. That's theindianformer.com. So everyone can go check that out. And now my last... Dang it. I really think... Can I do just a bunch of like tip of my hats? Because like you've got Indica is coming, Animal Well, Crow Country, Crip Master, Little Kitty Big City is coming out. Paper Trail is coming out. Gestalt, Steam, and Cinder is coming out. Haunty is coming out.
Yeah.
Like Duck Detective. All of these games
I'm
I want
watching the
to
trailer for
say.
that right now.
Duck Detective?
Mm-hmm.
It's so good. But the thing I'm going to hype up Lorelai and the Laser Eyes. I think this is legitimately going to be one of the best games of this year, and I can't wait to play all of it and see what is at the center of this maze, because something is going on and I want to know what it is.
That is a good list. I will have to add a bunch of games to my wish list now too.
That is the hazard of having me on a podcast.
That is true. That is true. Because every time you're on, I'm like, oh crap. Now, I mean, that's not a bad
I've got
thing.
like 20 things.
Yeah, I know, but I have like a list of things that I have to play through now. That's a bad thing. I'm just saying that always happens every time.
Yeah, it's just an occupational hazard.
That's right.
Some would say you're well informed.
That's
Someone
true.
would say that.
Some people would say that. A lot of people would say that, not just some people. Phil, do you have a top 3 that you're most looking forward to for indie games?
Well, as of about 3 hours ago, when you turned me on to Little Kitty Big City, that quickly jumped up to my list because it just looks like it's going to be stupid fun.
Mm-hmm. I
I did see, as I was scrolling through the list of upcoming games on the IndianInformer.com, there's a game coming out called What the Car that looks like it's made by the makers of What the Golf that will be right in my wheelhouse as well. And I know it's a Souls-like game, and typically I'm not too big into Souls-like games, but I'm intrigued by another Crab's Treasure.
Yes, that's going to be so good.
It looks like it's going to be stupid fun.
As of like yesterday, I think, officially I can say I am playing that game.
Whoa.
And that's all I can say.
Okay. That's awesome. Yeah. So for me, that's a good list, Phil, too. For me, I'm gonna say I hope it comes out this year. Mina. I'm really looking forward to Mina.
Oh, you're jinxing. I'm knocking on wood for you.
Yeah. Well, so here's the thing. I do want it to go up this year, like for sure. I did bet against it though, and in the Fantasy Critic League. So I'd rather lose in that than.
Wait a minute, Jill. Are you part of this Fantasy Critic League as well?
I am not in it. I am.
You're like the commissioner. Yeah,
I'm a commissioner to decide which games are and are not allowed in. But I personally do not partake in fantasy leagues because there's too much conflict of interest there for me.
Phil has been giving me a hard time about this league for a long time. He thinks that's like the nerdiest thing he's ever heard.
It's so much fun.
It is so much fun.
Like when we went around the table and you were picking stuff and everybody's like, oh my gosh, yeah, that's a great pick.
Yeah.
It's just a lot of fun.
Yeah, Phil. Anyway, I hope Mina comes out. The other game that it is scheduled to come out this year, 33 Immortals. That game looks really fun. I'm excited to get a bunch of friends. I don't have 33 friends, but I have like 5 that we can play this game with. That includes you, Jill.
Yeah, we could get a whole like Indian Informer community game going. Get all 33 of us in there.
Yeah, that'd be great. No, that game looks really good, so I'm excited about that one.
It plays really well. I am interested because my playthrough only had about 7 people in it at the time, so I'm very interested to see how 33 people altogether is going to work.
Yeah.
How was it with 7?
It was good. So I didn't notice any chugging, but of course we were in, everything was catered to be as perfect as possible during those like preview situations. So I'm interested to see how it'll work in the wild.
Yeah. It's like, have you seen anything about this game, Phil? Or no? Oh, you did.
You've talked about it even.
Okay. So yeah, I'm excited about that game. And then the last one that I'm really stoked about is Demon School. I got to try that last year at PAX East, and it is really fun. The bit that I got to play. I'm excited to play more of that. The story is interesting. The gameplay is fantastic. I'm excited about that game too.
Yeah, I think like it's a strategic. You're in school and suddenly everything's taken over by a ghost situation. I think what is most interesting for me of the things I didn't know about it before I went in, for GDC I played it. The art style is 2D and 3D under certain circumstances. And when it is such a cool instance of the art highlighting and supporting like what's going on in the world. So when you are in a 2D space, you're in the human realm. When you're in a 3D space or there are 3D elements, you're in the realm of supernatural.
Yeah.
It was a really cool concept I really liked.
Yeah. And I don't know if I talked about this with you, Phil, but like one of the things I liked about it too, it is like kind of strategy game, right? Where you get to plot out your moves and see where your enemies are, but you can actually see it all play out. And beforehand, they can kind of see like what, if you did this, what would happen here, what would happen here.
Right.
And then after you plot all that stuff out, then you just hit play and all the actions play out. It's really cool how that all happens. It's really neat. So,
plus at one point, the innards of a zombie crushed one of my characters.
Oh, really?
Oh boy.
Yeah. It was all the gory details just blah.
Oh my gosh. That's awesome.
I was like, okay.
That's awesome. Yeah, so I'm excited for that game. All right, so now that wow, I cannot talk tonight. That means we go on to the games we're currently playing.
Please keep that voice.
So, Jill, what games are you currently playing right now?
What can I talk about? Let me see.
I know that's actually that's what I'm running into. There's like a couple games I can't talk about right now. So,
okay, yeah. So I really want to shout out Life Eater. Which just came out this week. It is by Strange Scaffold, a friend of many shows and many indie games, Xavier Nelson Jr. And this is the developer behind like El Paso Elsewhere, is what I think most people are going to know him from. It is the weirdest. Like, I don't know if I'm a good person because I'm good at this game, you know? The concept, you are uniquely able to speak with the Lord of the Earth, who demands certain things in order to not destroy the world. Unfortunately, what that usually is kidnapping and brutally murdering people.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
Wow.
the gameplay.
This sounds like a Phil game.
It's not. I don't know if Phil wants or no, Phil probably would like this. This is not a Roger game.
No,
definitely not a Roger game.
No, it's not a Roger game.
The gameplay mostly consists of figuring out the schedule of the people you are targeted. Like your targets are given to you and you have to figure out how you have like a time limit because your god only lets you like so long before the end of the world. And you have to keep a suspicion meter in mind. So throughout the days, you have to do certain activities which will cost time and suspicion. And there are levels to them. So if you do like a really easy thing like, oh, I'm mowing the lawn and kind of looking in your window or whatever, that's like a level 1. Doesn't take a lot of time, isn't very suspicious, but you may not unlock like high level things. So maybe you'll find out that person has breakfast at 9. Woo. But like if you do a high level thing, maybe you'll discover that on the weekends they bury bodies. You know?
What? Wait, what? Wait,
yeah,
what?
It's exactly what it sounds like. That's your reaction when you learn that. You're like, well, what?
Then
Did I just read this?
Well, if they're burying bodies, do they also
so
pray
like,
to that same god?
So I'm like, okay, I don't feel that bad about murdering this person.
Yeah.
And then when you get to, so that's the first kind of chunk.
Well, unless they're a grave digger, unless that's their job.
It as you play, as you figure out like what their life is and what they're doing, you figure out who they are, how their life situation works, what kind of jobs there are. This person burying bodies, it's a cop.
Oh.
And you like realize that sort of trickle effect. And you're like, oh, this isn't a great person, so I'm fine murdering them.
PC only.
It is. It's PC only right now, is what he was saying. but it is you just need a mouse. It's not like a keyboard situation because there's a lot of clicking. But the second part of the gameplay is the ritual murdering. So it's very important to do the ritual correctly, because if you don't, then the world is going to end. Roger, it's important. You're the good guy here.
I did not expect this conversation to happen on this podcast ever.
So
this is the best podcast I've ever been on. Keep going, Jill.
The things you learn, you have to keep in your brain. And you're never quite sure exactly what you need to know. So you need to keep everything in your brain, because you can't go back to look at all the things you discovered. You sort of either have to like write them down or you have to remember. So it's things like, was this person living alone? If so, break rib 1, 2, and 3. If not, take out the left lung. You know, did this person have black hair? If so, like take out the pancreas. If not, like quarter someone's liver. And you're like, okay. So you have to do, it's like a flow chart of murder. You have to follow the flow chart. My cat is trying to get in the way here. So you follow the flow chart.
Flow chart of murder.
Flow chart of murder. You follow the flow chart, and then you the actual button to complete the ritual is called water the flower. You can take that however you want, but that jabs a knife into the person's heart. So this person beating heart the whole time, so they're alive when you're doing this to them.
Sorry, it's just funny to see your cat walk, to see a tail go by.
Come on.
Little kitty, big city.
And we lost Jill. This is why I shut the door to my office, Jill, because I've got 2 of them that would be doing the exact same thing.
That is the best. Oh, man. Hi,
everyone. My cat decided it didn't want to.
It didn't
want to tell you the secrets.
No, it didn't want to hear that game anymore. Please stop talking about that game. Please stop talking about that game.
Yeah, but you have to do it all correctly, or else the world ends, and you literally start from square one. You have to relearn everything that you learned, and it's really fun and interesting. So go play that. That is called Life Eater.
Life Eater. I do want to play that because I do like Zalavir's games and I like his mentality. Like I like his thought process around how he developed games and like how he, really focuses on the well-being of his, his studio and the people that work there. So I want to support him. I will say this isn't a Roger game, but because of the fact that I want to support him, and I do plan to reach out to him and have him on the show again to talk about the game. So I feel like I do want to play it, but you're right. This doesn't sound like a Roger game, but I'll play it.
Got the second one. She's not getting anywhere near this mic. Yeah. That's really, I don't know what else if that doesn't sound like your kind of game from that, then sorry, Roger.
No, that oddly enough, it kind of sounds interesting. I mean, it sounds very interesting, but yeah, it's a fascinating, weird game. But it's as you were saying, I'm like, it's not far fetched from like probably real life, like honestly. So that's the weird part about it.
Yeah, so. I'm with you, Phil. I don't know.
I don't know. You don't think
Jesus, Roger, what kind of fantasies do you have when you mow the lawn,
not me. Not me. I'm talking about like you read the news and you're like, oh my God. Like, hey, let me tell you some effed up things that I've been reading about in the news.
Yeah.
There's some effed up things in the news.
Yep. Well, yeah, that's why you just get off of social media and you live under a rock.
Yeah, I know. I
which is different than living in Iraq.
I will talk to you guys after the podcast about some of the effed up things I've been reading in the news because I don't really want to talk about it here on the podcast. But like that's why I'm like, this sounds like something that things could happen in real life, and that's the scary part. Anyway,
yeah.
Moving on. Do you play anything else?
Playing Stalk My Neighbor Simulator 3.
Yeah, I mean, essentially that's what it is.
I just put a bunch of new windows in the house. Oh, you're talking about video games. I thought you meant real life.
Oh, yeah.
Let's see what else I have on my list. Oh, Sky, Children of the Light. I have been playing. If that makes everybody feel a little better about what we're,
Oh,
you know,
I like the previous one better.
it just came.
What's this game about?
It is from the creators of Journey. So it is a very Journey-esque game. It pushes the shared experience a little farther and you have more people involved, but socializing and interaction is so limited, and it's limited to very nice, lovely things. And you are essentially, you're a character who was happy and floating around and full of light and shininess when something happened to tear the worlds asunder. Suddenly the lights are no longer connected. It's your job to share your little light with the world, reconnect everyone. It is just lovely and happy. And it's
quite the opposite of the last game you're talking about.
It's actually so incredibly beautiful. It might be the most beautiful game that you play this year. And the nice thing about it is that it is on Steam for the first time. This game has been out for a long time, but it's on Steam for the first time, and they've made it free. So you can go and download that right now. And
I will say I cried at the end of Journey.
you might cry at the end of this one.
Okay.
Yeah. King's Grave, another great game. I think that might be up your alley. But it's sort of a, not really a Metroidvania. It's in that vein of like, it's an isometric pixel, and you are the king of a kingdom that has 50 years ago you died.
Oh yeah, you were streaming this.
Yeah, it's really fun.
Yeah.
Not huge, like the narrative doesn't seem to be that terribly important, but the gameplay is just a really fun and smooth loop of like, I've gotten the things necessary, people, resources, whatever, to build the crossbow, which the crossbow will let me through this bridge because the target was across a chasm and I couldn't reach it. And now I've got a long distance thing, and now I can use the crossbow to kill all the baddies. And once those baddies are dead, I unlock the beacon in the middle of the town so that I can fast travel now. And so you're just going from like place to place to place, unlocking things, getting more resources. And it's a really fun, super solid, really hard to put down kind of indie game. So
cool. Yeah, that looked cool. That is right up my alley. I would play that game.
There you go. I think that's what I'm going to leave it at, because I could be like, oh yeah, in this game. Oh yeah, in this game. But those three, if you haven't found something in those three games that, speaks to you, then I don't know what to do.
Yeah, because I mean, really, that was quite the breadth of different games there that you actually covered. There's nothing in that list of games. I don't know what's wrong with you. Phil, what have you been playing?
Obviously, I've been playing the usuals, and because I knew Jill was coming on today, I decided to fire up and start playing a game that I'm sure Jill has probably played in, or at least bare minimum, obviously heard of. I started playing some Halibut today.
Oh, yeah.
I want to say I'm about 2 hours into this game. It is very uniquely stylized and animated, and I'm bored shitless with it. And then I hit the twist, and now I'm intrigued. I was ready to give up on it, and then I hit the twist. It's just mundane day-to-day life of you playing as Harold, going through being a repair guy in this underwater crashed space station that was jettisoned from Earth because it sounds like all hell was breaking loose on Earth, and all these people survived, and they were looking for a happy planet to land on, and they crashed into the water, and they're just trying to survive there. Again, the animation is spectacular. The music's been pretty solid as well. My one minor gripe, other than the fact that the first 2 hours are boring, very, very boring, is that if you want to interact with something, it'll pause and redirect and move your character over to where it needs to be in order for the scene to start, which is, it doesn't sound like a big deal, but it really takes you out of the moment of the game. And it just, like I said, just jarring is the word I'm going to use for it. But I'm going to go back into it now that I've hit this twist, and now I kind of want to see how this thing plays out. And I don't know. We'll see if I stick with it after all that. I mean, if it kind of fizzles for a while, I might drop out of it because I was very, very tempted to today. But I kept playing and made it to this point, and now I'm like, okay, this is intriguing.
Yeah.
It has all that stop motion animation, right? Is that?
Yeah, that's what
It's
it looks like.
claymation stuff.
The
Yeah.
claymation
Yeah,
stuff.
is it actual claymation?
Yes, and they have a very interesting, meticulous. I don't know if they intended to do it or not, but that's just how it ended up. Technique as to how they get their clay characters to actually work.
I can't even fathom.
Yeah, no, it's wild. Phil might like this game better than me.
Because you were bored shitless with it too?
I appreciate a narrative. I appreciate it's a little like it's very Wes Anderson in its sort of narrative approach.
Absolutely is.
And I know there are people out there who this is going to be their game of the year, and I love that. It's not necessarily that the narrative didn't speak to me, because it's like every time you're interacting with a character, I'm like, oh, I'm feeling this. I relate to this. This is cool. It is a lot more what Phil was talking about. The actual mechanics of playing the game are just not fun.
No.
Like it plods. It does the
super
thing.
sluggish.
Yeah. You're not given a lot of signposting or like ways to know what you're going to be doing. So a lot of the times you're sort of like, I think I'm going in the right direction. And unfortunately, if you're not, you're going down a lot of corridors, walking pretty slowly.
Even while holding down the run button, you're still not moving the fastest. And like I kind of thought it was claymated as I was playing it, but I was like, nobody's still claymating things in this day and age. But it's awesome that they are, because it looks spectacular and just the overall vibe is there. But Wes Anderson's a very, very good way to describe it.
Does it play slow because of the animation? Is that why?
I think there might be some of it, but it might also be in support of the narrative.
Okay.
Yeah. I think it's trying to just give you that vibe and that feel to it as well, like atmospheric type of a thing.
Okay.
But it's like the voice acting's been pretty solid so far. My biggest complaint, again, just the first 2 hours are just boring.
Yeah.
Very, very boring.
Like if you know you're a huge Wes Anderson fan and you want that kind of experience in a game,
dive head first.
Pick this up. This is going to be your thing, you know?
The 2 hours, that's asking a lot to get into a game, though.
2 hours might be a slight exaggeration, and by slight I mean by 30 minutes at the absolute most.
Yeah. It's not a huge exaggeration. Like the twist is interesting, and I walked away from it like maybe I should check this out, but it's just my time is so limited. It's really hard to go, okay, I've been playing this for several hours. I'm still not hooked by it. I'm like, even if this game's narrative goes off the deep end, I still don't like the way it plays. Like,
no, it feels I don't want to say broken. I don't want to say janky, but it's just so like, I don't know. And there's a couple of even like glitches in the game where you go and talk to like the overseer or whatever, and you go through this elevator and you go up, and the chair rises with the person in it, and then it'll drop back down, but the person will drop back down, and suddenly you can't get back into the elevator. And there's times like you even click the elevator button and you'll stand there for 30 seconds waiting for the elevator even to open up. And it's just like, why is this the way that it is? But it's pretty on the eyes. It's very pretty on the eyes.
Yeah, 100%. And narrative, I have literally the way that they have built the world around them. Fantastic. I love the atmosphere. So yeah, it's a hard one because it's like, I love that it exists. I love that this is in the world. I want people who like for who this game is made. I want them to play it. I'm not that person.
And I'm sure if anybody's a fan that's listening, I'm sure there are fans of it that are just fans of point and click adventures, you'll dig it because that's what it is. It's a point and click adventure. It feels very dated as well at the same time, just because we're so much more accustomed these days to things moving at a quicker clip where this doesn't. And it slogs a lot in times.
I was going to play it. Now I'm not sure I will, though. But maybe I will. Maybe I'll just check it out just to see.
Check it out. Yeah.
It's on Game Pass, right? It's on Game Pass, right?
It's free.
Yeah.
Well,
you could go and you could be the person who loves it.
That's true. That's true. This could be a Roger game. We don't know. Anything else, Phil?
Not that I necessarily recall. I saw a bunch of Stray got getting played because my girlfriend just played through Stray and she was absolutely enamored with it. which is fun for her because she typically doesn't play things that make you think and or have a story that's being told with her or with them. And so like she even admitted for the first hour she just wasn't at all paying attention. Then all of a sudden she started paying attention. She's like, wow, this game's really cool. And I was like, that's why I told you to grab it and play it, because I figured you'd like it.
That's awesome.
But I'll play through it one of these days, even though she ruined the ending for me because she came downstairs screaming about it. And I was just like, I did plan on playing that game, but thanks a lot.
It's a good ending. It's a good ending.
For me, I will say this. I also don't have a lot of time, it feels like. Thank goodness for Magic Mind, though. I'll just plug that here because, man, my days, ever since coming back from PAX, I just feel like I've been behind the 8 ball. I don't know why, but it just feels like I've been behind. And I don't know, work has like caught up with me or something. I don't know. It's a weird transition. It really is. And this is like, it's taken me a longer transition. And I get done with work and I'm exhausted, but like, because of Magic Mind, I'm able to continue with, actually doing my job and continue to write and continue to review games. So thank goodness for Magic Mind. The games I've been playing, I will say there's a couple games I can't talk about right now, but I have been playing one that I can talk about, and this isn't a Roger game, and I'm reviewing a game.
That sounded worrisome. That particular laugh.
This isn't a Roger game.
I can't talk. I mean, I can talk about that I'm playing the game. I can't talk too much about the game. I'm playing Harvest Hunt.
Okay.
It is a horror game.
Uh-huh.
I know this really doesn't sound like a Roger game. I know what this game is. I'm like, why are you playing this?
I know. Because it looked cool. And I was offered the code, and I was like, "Sure, yeah, no, I got to get out of my comfort zone." And maybe because I was all energized from Magic Mind, I thought like I could take this game on. Right?
I believe in you, Roger. You can do it. Hunt the harvest.
Yeah. So I can talk a little bit about the premise of the game. So there's like 5 knights that you are like part of this village, and you are determined to be the one that goes out and gets the different ambrosia. I think
ambrosia.
The nectar of the gods.
Yeah. You have to go collect that because that's what your city or that's what your village needs. But then there's this creature that's out there that wants to kill everybody. And you also, if you don't take out, so you get 5 knights, and if you don't take out this monster, it becomes more and more powerful. What's so funny over there?
Jill is the creature and the monster.
Oh, I see.
I might have suggested that, maybe. Anyone who's listened to the audio has no idea what we're laughing about.
That's true. So this thing creeps along, and you can get weapons. And that's the cool thing. Like it's kind of like this is where the deck building aspect comes into play, because you can use different cards to say, I'm going to want this either this kind of weapons at these different places. And you have to spend so much of the resources you have to make that happen. Then there's cards that show up that will tell you about, it's called the Whisper, and it'll tell you about the monster. I'll tell about your fortune, and there's something else about that as well. And it's a creepy, it's first person. And the other thing that happens is like in the beginning of the game, so none of this is spoiler because I can't talk about the spoiler stuff. But in the beginning of the game, this mask, because your character has to wear a mask because that's part of the ritual. You have to wear this mask, and this mask comes zooming up on your face in the beginning of the game. And then you can go into mask mode. Like the Mask, the cartoon. Mask, it's the mighty power that will save the day. Yeah. You could go into mask mode, and then you can see like highlights of weapons and different things in the different areas that you can go get. But it's creepy. I mean, it's a creepy game. I pat myself on the back for playing this game because this is normally not a Roger game, but I was like, I need to go out of my comfort zone and try something different. So this is me trying something different. So I'm
a little worried about the amount of games we've talked about today that have ritualistic.
I know.
I had the exact same thought too. I'm just like, there's like Icky and ritualistic seem to be the two words of this entire show tonight.
Yeah, yeah.
You're welcome, everyone.
Yeah, no kidding. The kidding.
The ritualistic icky podcast.
Yeah, that's right. We should change the podcast name to that.
That's the title. Yep.
What else have I been playing? I've been playing some more World of Grimm. So that's a free-to-play card game that's on Steam. So they just added daily quest and weekly quest to that, which is very cool. So if you played Marvel Snap, you'll get the same premise, except this is with Grimm characters instead. So it's very good. So I've been playing more of that. There's a game I can't talk about, so I won't talk about that game.
Excellent usage of your time there, Roger.
Yeah, I know. There's a game I can't talk about, so I won't talk about that.
I spent 3 seconds talking about nothing.
You literally just like have a whole dialogue where you put the bar redacted over your mouth.
Exactly. I did pick up Sticky Business because that was just came out on the Switch.
Yep.
So
Shadow release,
yeah, and the bundle. So like additional clients that you can. So that actually inspired me to do something as well at work. So that's very cool. So that was kind of
what
a
is
neat thing.
Sticky Business?
So you run a sticker business and you have different customers and you have to make the stickers based on what they're asking for.
Okay.
And that kind of like unravels their narrative and what they're going through. It's a very like cozy, emotional, like
a Roger game.
A Roger game.
Fun.
Yeah. This is very much a Roger. It's a nice game to play after playing Harvest Hunt.
Rituals
Now, if it was a turn-based CCG that was roguelike and it was cozy and warm, it's straight up a Roger game.
That's true. And then I've been playing more. I took down the king once again in Let's Revolution. I love that game a lot. So
it's so good.
It is so good. Oh, and then one last game. So our library, this is kind of cool. Our public library, rents out Switch games
because nobody wants to buy them.
And my wife was at the library last week, and she said, "Have you heard of Fae Farm?" And I said, "I have, actually. I was at PAX West, and they had this huge booth on it.
Really cool booth.
It was a really cool booth." And she said, "Should I rent it?" And I'm like, "Yeah, you should." So she rented it, and it was fun. Like, we were going to play games last night together because she likes to play Dr. Mario. She's very good at Dr. Mario. There's nobody, I will put her against anybody to play Dr. Mario. She will beat anybody. She's very good at Dr. Mario. And then, but she was like, well, I said, show me Fae Farm. And I just enjoyed just watching her play that because she was really, she loves that game a lot. And it's funny because my son has been playing Pioneers of Olivetown, and which is a farming sim. And he saw my wife playing Fae Farm, and he's like, "That looks really cool. I like the fact that there's magic." And he's 9, okay, but I was like, "Oh boy." He's like, "But you can't romance anybody, and I want to marry somebody." So, but then we found out that you can romance, and now, and he was like, "Wait, you can?" So now this is his favorite game. So now he's been playing it, and he is 9, but man, that guy has the charm. I have never met a more charming person than my son. And
well, he's going through all these games, learning to romance people.
I know. Oh my!
Turned him on to Stardew Valley yet?
He knows when and how to turn on the charm, and I. Not gonna lie, I worry a little bit when he gets older. I'm not gonna lie. He is, and he's a handsome little dude. So I'm like, oh boy, I'm in trouble.
You're not in trouble. The ladies are in trouble.
Yeah. And he's got big blue eyes. Oh my gosh, he is a handsome man. And I'm like, oh man. So yeah, that's what I've been playing. Before we head out, I know we're going a little long. Phil, should we talk about the game that you have been playing? We'll wait for Mike. Can I just say one thing since Jill is here? So
no.
Okay. Well, I'm going to anyway.
And I quit.
And that's the show. So every so often, not every so often, like every once in a while, like once Phil like beats a game. We used to do this. There was Tales from the eShop thing. And we were really worried that Phil was going to quit the podcast because he was really hating. Close. He really was. And then we thought, well, let's do it a different way. Let's have a competition between Mike and I, and we have to try to sell a game to Phil to play. So the last game, what was the last game you played?
Cassette Beats.
Cassette Beats.
Oh,
yeah.
okay.
I don't remember what the game I picked, but Mike picked Cassette Beats, and we played that, and it was fun. I liked that game. But this time around, Mike was selling Evil West, and I was selling your favorite game, Jill. Tunic. Yeah.
Yeah.
And he said no to Tunic. He said no
to the best adventure he's ever going to have in his life.
That's what I said.
Go ahead and tell her why I said
Well,
no, Roger,
because
before you make me look like a shithead of a human being. I can do that on my own. I don't need your assistance.
Because he already played it, and he was like, "That I already played that out." Because we were trying to find games he's never played before.
Understandable.
But I didn't know he already played it, and he was like, "No," and I said, "Wait until Jill comes on the show."
I'll be just outraged.
Yes.
This might be the last time.
Wait, what? What?
For April.
But yeah, so I haven't played Evil West yet, but that's what Phil's been playing. So, but we'll wait for Mike to come back because that was his game. He picked it, so we'll allow him to talk about that. So, all right. Well, that is where we're going to end the show. Before we head out, Jill, where can people find you on social media and read all your articles and such?
So you can find me personally on Twitter at Finruin, Finruin. You can follow the Indie Informer at indie_informer, or you can go and check out theindieinformer.com and read all of our things. It does have a Patreon if you would like to support indie journalism covering indie games. I am headed out to Summer Game Fest this year, so stay tuned for all the really cool stuff I see there. I'm also part of the Indie Council. We do a weekly podcast about what's going on in the indie world, and sometimes we get into very serious topics this time around. Sometimes we get into very heated debates about what is or is not an indie, but we're always having a great time.
Yeah.
So go check that out.
Yeah, go check it out. Jill, you do a really good job. You know that. I mean,
thank you.
Yeah. I will say this, like, not that I compare, but every time I read something, I write something, I'm like, oh, I wrote something I'm so proud of. And then I read yours and I'm like, oh my God, I have so much growth yet. I have so much growth. And it's usually the same game that we played. And I'm like, yep, I got a lot of growth. I gotta go. But it's fun because you are so kind to me because I have asked you, can you read this for me and let me know what you think? And like your words of wisdom help me grow as a writer. So thank you for that.
It's one of those things that when you're in this particular job, like you don't do it on your own. Like there's literally no one here that's doing anything on any sort of level that's on their own. There is a whole network of people supporting you. And I'm lucky enough to have had like Game Informer and the Game Informer fam, like we're still friends and we still reach out to each other and we're still talking to each other. And like all of those people who helped and shaped and supported. And like when I was starting out as a little baby intern, like I didn't know left from right, you know, and like having everyone around me and supporting me and lifting me up and becoming a better person. I want to share that as well. So like that's how we all get anything done in this industry.
Well, that's very kind. You are a good friend, so I appreciate you.
Appreciate you guys.
Phil, where can people find you?
On the rare occasion that I'm actually on social media, you can find me on Twitter at BNow23.
And listeners, you can find me on Twitter at Nintendorodge. You can find Gamerheads on Twitter at GamerheadsPod. You can go check out our website at gamerheadspodcast.com, where you can hear this show and reviews and news articles. And you can check out our YouTube channel, youtube.com/gamerheadspodcast, where you can hear this show. So every episode is actually now on YouTube, which is pretty cool. And then I do some streams as well, so you can check those out as well. So, and I played a couple of games of Balatro. I have not won a game on stream, but I came close.
I believe in you.
I came close.
After this, you're gonna do it.
Yeah, maybe. I have beaten the game 3 times, but I've not beaten it on stream. So we'll see. Jill, thank you so much for joining us this week. It was really fun. I always enjoy having you on the show. It's a blast. So thank you.
I'm sorry, like I started out with corruption and I ended in ritualistic murder, but
that's par for the course.
Sounds like a Thursday night to me.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, thank you so much. Phil, thank you so much for joining us this week.
Always, man.
And
I'm also thankful for Jill because Jill makes me have to not talk as much, and that's always a good thing for everybody's ears. Plus, she's way more educated and way more informed than I am, so she got wisdom.
And listeners, I can't argue with that. That's the truth. That's all truth statements there. Listeners, thank you so much for giving us a listen. If you like what you hear, leave us a review. We want to hear what you have to say about the show. Also, go check out the Indie Informer. Go check out the Indie Council. Fantastic stuff over there as well. So if you like listening to this, listen to that as well, because like their podcast is 10 times better than ours. But
we have a lot of fun.
It's with that, everyone, stay safe and game on. We'll talk to you next week. See ya. Bye.
Bye.